Works better if I turn that off.
Yes, or turn anything on there, right? Yes. Although, yes, we actually went live this time instead of having the test run like before.
There we go. So, hey.
Hey, you're back. You're back.
Yes.
What wonderful place did you go to?
We went to the Jersey Shore, which is rather interesting.
Did you see the situation and those guys, or
the what?
Okay, never mind. You're not watching Pop TV. It doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
The guys from the Jersey Shore show.
Oh,
never mind. Okay.
No, don't know anything about the show. I just know about the actual shore.
Yeah, good deal.
I imagine the show doesn't show you the mosquitoes, the flies, the humidity, the sandy crabgrass.
Some would describe the cast members as that. Hey, you had to have a dad joke really early on. You missed me. Come on, you missed me. Why don't we introduce ourselves and then talk
Lifeguards,
about
Randall.
Yeah. I can't swim. I'd be a horrible lifeguard.
Yes, introductions.
Yes.
I am Scott Stahl. I have been doing Flutter since September 2017, helped build the Flutter community. Professionally, I am a developer relations engineer for AppCircle. And in my spare time, I do silly things like this show. Randall.
This isn't silly. This is very, very important. Pointing the wrong way. There we go. All right. This is very, very important. I am Randall Schwartz. I've been a 40-year veteran of the industry. So I might know a little bit about programming and stuff. That's kind of what I do. And I have recently become, as early as it was possible, I became a Google developer expert for Dart and Flutter, which means I get to sit and talk with all you people, all y'all, as they would say in the South, to see what their current concerns are, answer your questions. I'm on every possible community channel for Dart and Flutter. I spend a good portion of my day answering questions. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm up there answering questions. People trying to figure out what my schedule is. Just keep trying.
Someday he'll figure out that he could actually use those hours to get paid.
Sleep. And to sleep. Some of those hours are probably what a lot of people are sleeping through. I am also currently now a full-time Flutter contractor. I am full-time gainfully employed. So I'm pretty excited about that. Our project will come out sometime soon. And I will, of course, let everybody know I did that. Or I helped with that. I'm just part of the smarts.
Very cool. So, now, if you haven't been keeping up or if you're new to Flutter, for a long time, we spent a lot of energy, a lot of effort getting to be good with Flutter, trying to find the occasional paying gig.
Yeah.
Ever since ever since Flutter Engage, some announcements came out. Particularly things like Ubuntu is going to be running their installer in Flutter. Canonical recommends Flutter for the way to create apps now for Linux. Various things like that. Interest in Flutter exploded. Flutter for Web came out as release. Or I'm sorry, it was just before release. Basically, it's at a stage where it's supposed to be production ready, but they want you to stress test it and give the team feedback in case it doesn't pass your stress test.
Yeah, file issues. Be ready to file issues.
Please file issues. It's the only way things get better. They're working furiously to try to make it better. If you don't have your ear to the ground with what's going on inside the world of Flutter, you may not understand that they have been hiring contractors like crazy to triage the requests and issues and find duplicates and get it all sorted so that the team can have all their engineers working on fixing things instead of digging through issues and trying to figure out what to do.
And what I found is that process is really efficient. Typically, bugs go from just being submitted to at least being triaged within about a day is what I've been noticing.
Yeah. Well, they've got lots of people
right on it. Yeah.
Yeah, there and several of the top developer companies in Flutter have also signed on to that to help out.
Yeah,
but between Engage and Google I/O and the announcements, interest in Flutter has completely surpassed all expectations. It has never really been zero, but there wasn't enough work for everyone, to the point now where people were grabbing everything they could get over the past couple of months. And now it's to the point where a number of us are realizing our mistakes, trying to bite off more than we can chew, not having time to take the dog out and empty the dog, the wife getting upset because we don't come to the dinner table. So people are going to start backing off a little bit, and that's going to create a lot of opportunities for newer Flutter devs.
Yes,
it really is, because the veterans need to back off in order to be able to breathe at this point. I myself am juggling 3 different things. I've got my day job, I've got a Flutter side job, and I've got a teaching gig on the side. I happen to know Simon Lightfoot used to come be here with us, and he wants to be here with us, but he's got so much going on. They've had to bring on so many people with his operation. Simon's practically going into management, which is kind of terrifying. He lives in meeting hell as of right now, as does Nash Ramdial, the editor for Flutter Community Medium, lives in meeting hell for about 11 hours a day over at stream.io.
Yep.
And
that's the real reason, by the way, you get paid more as you go further up the ladder. You have to spend even more time being unproductive, and it's very disheartening.
It's like the Peter principle in the military.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The higher you go, the less you do.
Yep.
It's because you're stuck in meetings all the time.
Yep.
Anyway, let's see here. We have a question here about how to remove the scroll bar from a list view in Flutter Web. It comes by default. I am not sure about that. I would have to dig into it. But it's kind of funny, because for a while there was no scroll bar.
Yeah. My guess is I don't understand the context a little bit, because if you have something that can scroll, you probably want a scroll bar. And a list view, by definition, wants to scroll when it gets long enough. And you won't see the scroll bar until it is long enough to scroll. So I still don't know what... I don't know why you'd want the scroll bar to just what, never show up? Because I'm sure there are ways
too, on the web, people do expect to see it.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, I understand that on a mobile app, you wouldn't want to see that, but it shouldn't be showing up on a mobile app anyway. This is web specific.
Oh, it's saying Flutter Web, right? Yeah. Yeah, you should see
the second question is about YouTube players. The main thing there, I would go over to pub.dev, dig through, read each one, see what they're doing, how they're approaching things, maybe go to their GitHub pages, check out their issues, see how active they are, talk to people. We've got this little thing called a Flutter Community Slack. There are a couple of people over there. Let me see here.
Yeah, and you may also want to talk about the Flutter Discord, which is also very active.
And that too.
If you have
the
that
Flutter
URL
Community
handy,
Slack right now has 14,732 members.
Yeah.
I imagine there's got to be somebody over there,
right,
who will be able to give you the ins and outs of all of the YouTube packages.
Right, that'll work.
So let me see here. I am digging.
One thing you have to keep in mind, I think, is that having a YouTube player means you're going to be using a web view with all the intricacies about that. And you probably won't ever get the complete control or fidelity or integratability, if that's a word. Just make it up. As you would with, say, a fully rendered native Flutter widget. So be prepared to be slightly disappointed and slightly angered at what you what flexibility you have. But people are doing pretty well at building things that are using this web view that's pointing at YouTube and getting it to show stuff. That part I know. I just don't know how well, and I don't know who's the leader in this area yet, because I personally haven't had to use it yet. Not that it makes me any smarter. Something that just means it's to take the easiest route. So I have no idea. But yeah, it's doable. People have done it. Which one is the best? I guess Scott and I are not the ones to ask that. So as Scott also suggested, ask in all those places in the URL that he has just popped up on screen. And for the people who are listening in their car, which they shouldn't be, but if they're listening in their car, it's flutter.dev/community. And that's pretty easy to remember. Don't even write it.
And that will get you links to the Slack, to the Discord, to the Gitter, to the kitchen sink.
Yes.
Just about everything.
Yeah. To Reddit, Stack Overflow, all that stuff. Yeah.
Lots of different places.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see here. Fuchsia.
Yes.
We had this whole big show planned, or not. And then we looked up and saw a tweet saying that there is a new Fuchsia Discord. Ooh, ah. So the big question then is what's going on with Fuchsia? Now that they are doing a Discord, how much more activity is going on? How basically, sorry, I am opening a link here over at 9 to 5 Google. We will put this in the chat. But the question is, how much more activity is there going to be now with Fuchsia because of the availability of this?
Mm-hmm.
And my apologies, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if you all are seeing my video the way I am, which means lousy.
No, I'm not seeing it at all.
You're not seeing my video.
I'm seeing someone says Google opens official Discord server.
Right. No, there's that. But what I'm talking about is me, because on my
your
end,
video.
I am kind of a slideshow.
You, the human, you are cutting in and out a little bit. I thought it was just me.
Yeah. Nope. I'm seeing it on my end too, and I'm not sure why it normally does not do that.
So we secretly replaced Scott with Max Headroom. Only some of the kids are going to get that.
Okay, and yeah, I was going to say we're dating ourselves there.
I'm not just dating myself; I'm carbon dating myself.
Yeah. And here I thought dating yourself was something you did if you couldn't get a girlfriend.
Yeah, that also happens. Yeah, you are messing around a little bit. I don't know what's going on. We can keep talking though. Let's keep talking.
Alrighty. So Fuchsia.
Yeah.
Some really interesting stuff. Back around March through May, there were a lot of announcements, and in essence, Fuchsia came out on the Google Homes, the Nest Hub, the Nest Hub Max, and it was an interesting move because it's one of the few times that you've seen an OS switch on an existing piece of hardware.
Right.
Instead of having a new piece of hardware come out with a new OS, this was a piece of hardware that was already running Android, and they flipped it to Fuchsia.
Yes. And as I recall, it's only if you were opted into advanced testers selection somehow.
That I had not heard.
Oh, okay. I heard that a couple of times. It's it was slowly rolling out, and it was only rolling out to people who were in the advanced program. And so you had to opt into this, but there was a way to tell. There was a new version number that showed up in one of the info screens on the device, and that's the way you could tell that you've been upgraded to have Fuchsia rather than the original, whatever it was.
I will definitely have to look into that, see if I can get it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was some sort of a program. Apparently, there's some questionnaire or something you answer on the owners. I don't have one of these things, so I can't say anything one way or the other. So
Thanks,
yeah.
Seb.
Okay. Well, say it out loud for the listener people.
Oh, sorry, those who are listening. Seb Mitchell says he thinks it's only the first generation Nest Hubs and not the Max just yet. So there we go with that.
Yep.
So yes, this was a big deal. Now, if you're not familiar with Fuchsia, here's something we can fill a lot of time with. No.
I was going to say, we haven't talked at all about what it is. We've
I know.
always said, hey, here's what's happening.
Okay. Yeah, so here's the view from way up high in the sky.
Yeah.
For a long time now, Google has wanted Linus Torvalds to introduce certain changes into Linux that Google would like, and Linus has basically been telling Google to go jump in the lake and just forget about it. He doesn't want to do anything that they want. So as part of being able to get control of some of this, Google has been working on an operating system called Fuchsia. Now, this whole thing with Linux is only part of the deal. Fuchsia runs on a microkernel, or it's apparently on the edge of being a microkernel, according to some people. It's called Zircon. Now, there are various layers within the operating system. By the way, there's the kernel, and then there's a few others. And interestingly enough, most of those were code named after gems like Topaz and a few others. But Zircon, the Zircon kernel itself, is small enough that it can fit and run on things like the hub, but even much smaller. It's meant to run on things like your refrigerator. Okay, so it could be very interesting to have an OS that fits on your refrigerator and also could be better for running in cars than possibly the current Android OS.
Right.
And you don't know Google having control of it's a big deal. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for those that don't understand why it would be better to have something that wasn't Linux for these small applications, Linux is doing a lot of background processing all the time. And it has this notion of users, which you don't need if you're the person that owns the refrigerator. That's it.
Well, and it's, to be fair, it's not just Linux. I mean, we're also talking about, it could be Windows, it could be Mac. It doesn't matter. The current normal operating systems are seriously overkill.
They're they're bloated because they have all the legacy of being a shared community machine, whether it be your desktop and you'll have various daemons and stuff running inside of it, or if it's a group machine like Unix was originally built for universities to be able to have an operating system running on their shared machines. So it had to have all these extra layers of security and all these other things that we don't need. So you want to start over with something that's been commonly called a microkernel, although we've gotten some indications that we can't exactly call this a microkernel, but it's there.
Just a little bigger than,
a little bigger than micro, right? And it was much more optimized for the common phrase is Internet of Things. Mm-hmm. In other words, having such a nice lightweight operating system that it doesn't burn your battery, it doesn't have all the overhead and possible security attack surfaces. Like Linux systems are good, but they're not completely 100% invulnerable. So anything that anybody discovers anywhere about Linux can be applied to Android phones and stuff under the right circumstances. And actually the operating system of iOS is also very Unix-like as well. So if there are attack vectors figured out, that starts making vulnerable a lot of things. So this is a brand new thing. They'll eventually figure out attack surfaces for this, but it'll take a while.
Yeah.
Well,
so let's see here. Fuchsia is, again, also it's under Google's control. So if there's something that they think needs to be changed or tuned to fit certain hardware, they can do that. Also, right. Bringing it out on the Nest Hub is a really smart idea, as they mentioned in an article that I'll show you here in a few minutes, because Google also has control of the hardware in the Nest Hub, which is something that they don't have when it comes to phones. So they can't, if it looks like it would be better to change the hardware in order to take advantage of some things in the software, they can do that. And then after they get it perfectly tuned, they might be able to suggest to makers of other devices to mimic what they've been doing in order to take the best advantage of Fuchsia. So one of the reasons that we are touching on Fuchsia right now is two big things have happened. And it's a shame that Google has been so tight-lipped about Fuchsia that I have to call these big things. Okay. Hint, hint. Number one, they've opened a Discord, to the public, which haven't had anything like that before. Someplace we can actually go and talk about Fuchsia and ask some questions in kind of real time, much better than what we've had to this point. The other thing is Fuchsia's got a new logo, which means they're getting ready to step out a little bit more into the public eye, so to speak, if they're putting time into a new logo, which is going to be interesting. I know that they had hired a couple of developer relations people over the last year, and those people are the ones who would be putting together articles, creating tutorials, doing things like that. And so they have been hard at work over the past year, but of course, none of these things have come out because they're preparing them. The only strange thing that I have noticed is the new Fuchsia logo is not Fuchsia.
It's just a black and white version. You have to
color it's black and white.
Color it in.
See if I can find a copy of it. I'm trying to remember where I saw it.
It does look sort of like the letter F. Well, probably 9 to 5. I think 9 to 5 had it like a couple weeks ago.
I'm looking at, well, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I will pull that up here in a moment. You're right. It would have been 9 to 5.
Yeah, they're pretty good. By the way, the guy that runs 9 to 5 is one of the guys hanging out on the new Discord.
Very cool.
Yeah. So he can be yet another person that can't tell you anything because he's under NDAs for everything.
Oh, this is interesting.
What
when
are we
I
watching?
did a search for Fuchsia, I found the new logo.
Right.
And it's not black on white.
What?
At least in this picture.
My whole world
this individual
is
picture.
No
so
way.
Let me. Okay, probably not a good idea to have my window.
Yeah.
Be this long and this wide. It doesn't show very well.
To share something on this StreamYard.
There it is.
Cool.
Okay, and that is as opposed to that logo.
Right.
Okay, so, and remember, it's time to ditch the toilet brush.
Yes.
Why, I'm not sure. So Nest Hub screens are Nest Hubs are using Fuchsia. You might see this particular logo on a white background with a black logo.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing mostly.
Which, yeah, now, as I said, you would expect it to be Fuchsia. Go figure.
Yeah. It didn't make any sense to me either.
That right there is if you search 9 to 5 Google. I'm sorry. 9 to 5.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, this is what happens when I go away for a week.
Your brain isn't quite
literally hit the beach.
Yet.
quite literally hit the beach.
Right.
So that's if you check out that URL. But yeah, I was quite happy with the fact that I packed up my laptop on Friday night. We went and visited family on Saturday. We went and arrived at the Jersey Shore on Sunday, and I did not pull my laptop out of the bag until Thursday.
Woohoo!
So I got to watch a lot of television. I got to work on some card tricks and spend some time with the dog, who is now behind my chair so close that I don't dare move.
Yep. My only time that I haven't been online in at least every 12 hours or so is when I was on cruise ships and the Wi-Fi was prohibitively expensive. That's about it. So I actually went time away from my laptop on some of the cruise ships. Then they had unlimited, and it was like, that's the end of me. I'm unlimited on this Wi-Fi.
Here is the one that I was just talking about here.
The gray one.
Getting a new logo. Okay. And really, it's just a new trademark filing with the government, but it's significant because they're going to be preparing to do something with it. And as you can see, there it is in black and white.
Yeah.
So anyway, beyond logos, and as I said, that's just in that and them hiring people who write tutorials and articles. This is an indication that they're getting ready to step out into the public eye and do more outreach to developers. So get ready.
Yep.
Here it comes. Start getting ready to write some more apps. Now, right now, if you want to play around with Fuchsia, you need to do it on Linux. So at least that's as of the last time I checked, because what you can do is you can run a VM in Linux that will run Fuchsia. The last time I looked at it, it was just a black and white screen so far. But there are ways, I'm sure, to get your Flutter apps running on there. People are playing with it.
I do believe there is a bootable Mac OS, Apple hardware version of something. I don't know exactly what the configuration was, but I was looking at maybe being interested in it, and then I thought about how busy my schedule already is and said, I can't look at this yet.
Yeah,
not until it's further along. I can't be that much of a guinea pig. I can only do so much at once. But I do plan on looking at it more. And we're still also in this weird phase where, yes, they're doing all the work out in public repos, but a lot of the context of that is still meetings that are happening inside Google that we are not privy to. Even with our wonderful connections and power, there's still a lot of things we can't know.
Yeah. You can see the code, but you don't, and you can see what the code is literally doing line by line.
Yep.
But that doesn't tell you what it's for. And that goes back to a big thing, some discussions we have about putting comments in your code. I once saw a recommendation in writing code for Unity with C#. They said 1 comment per line, and I just wanted to strangle someone. No, do not write 1 comment per line. No.
The code will get
lost. But at the same time, you get the opposite end with these people who say, there should be 0 comments, and your code should just have words, names, and everything that you can read. That's all well and good if you want to read every single line.
Yeah.
But if I'm opening a 250, 350 line file, it's much better to have 3 sentences at the top that tell me what this whole thing is doing and why it's there.
Right.
So that way I don't have to go read all of your variable names and all of your method names, because frankly, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on.
And Dart Doc is baked into the ecosystem, and it's good to get to start using that. I've been doing now always, as I write a new method call, putting a 1-liner above it. And why? Not because I'm going to print some document to go show how this whole thing works, but it's so fun when I hover over that particular function call somewhere else in my code, anywhere else in my code that calls it, I get the description right there in detail. Because the IDE knows about Dart Doc and knows about grabbing the stuff from the right place. It is really slick. Take
One of
advantage of
the
that stuff.
interesting things too that I only learned fairly recently. If you have, if you have variables in your class, and actually also globals, and it's something simple like Boolean is dead. Okay, true, they're dead. False, they're not. Pretty easy, right? But if you don't put a doc comment above that, then it can mess up the ability of Dart docs to generate the automated comments.
Wow.
Apparently,
Oh, that sucks.
So when you look at some of these docs, and it's like, why did somebody put a doc comment there? This is so obvious. It's really dumb. No, what they're doing is they're putting it there to make sure that Dart doc will generate the documents properly.
Right, right. Definitely gives, and to supplement what you were saying a bit earlier about comments, the best use of your time is to comment why something was done.
Yes.
Not what it's doing. What it's doing can be reverse engineered. The why, I can tell you from viewing many code bases that I did not create, the why is sometimes stupefying.
Yep.
It's impossible to determine from the code.
Don't write comments that tell you what's going on. That's what your clean code is for.
Yep.
You can read that and see what's going on. But a lot of times when you're digging through someone else's code base and you're just trying to figure out what's going on, you don't care how it's doing it. You care why it's doing it.
Yes.
So, yes, please. Anyway, moving on.
We have a couple more questions, and I don't know where you want to go.
Well, one here I'm looking at. Someone is asking about integrating a shipping delivery API, and that's not Flutter. That's some API that you're looking to try to integrate with. We have no idea. Some kind of a shipping delivery API for an e-commerce app. I would talk to the shipping delivery company.
Well, and it would also be similar to any API integration. There's a certain strategy and pattern that you use to identify the API, identify your domain objects that need to talk to it, and work out the wiring. That's what programming is. You'll just do it because that's all there is to do. I always laugh at people that ask me questions where the only real answer is you do it by doing it. Mm-hmm. And this is suspiciously in that area. But
you're welcome, Nash.
But more power to you to get that to happen. If you have a specific question, if we have time here about Flutter, we'd love to answer it. But more likely, you're going to need to provide more details. And I suggest then that you go to one of the things we listed earlier in community, and go to a Discord, go to a Slack, and be sure to have your information with you and easily cut and pasteable. Because we're going to ask those questions. We're going to ask what kind of data is this expecting. I tell you, the number of times I've been frustrated because somebody just says, "What's a REST API?" That says nothing. That doesn't tell me what the structures are going to have to be in JSON or what the endpoint names are. REST is not universally, here's how to plug two things together. REST is, here's a kind of a high level view of the protocol. And to do all the specific things like update a value, add new things, delete things. If they do it properly, they're even doing it with different methods like get, put, post, and delete. Yes, right. There's a delete call in HTTP. People don't understand there are a lot more things than just get and post.
Yeah. Let me, I want to point out an article that's really good, but I would advise reading this on mobile. And I want to use it as an example of what, please, anyone doing web, please don't do this. Because you see, here's the title. What is Fuchsia? Why should you care? Okay. Now, if I get this banner out of your way, you'll be able to see a little bit of the article right here. Down low. Now, what do we have here? We have some type of weird scrolling video that's in my face. We also have, now, well, here's the interesting thing. That's the video. There's another full width scrim right here, which apparently is some type of an ad. Plus, there's also this ad in the middle. Then this right here, this keep in touch is an advertisement. Okay. Now, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny little X right here. And if you click it, that's not what an X is supposed to do.
No, not even close.
Okay. That's not cool. Another interesting thing, too, if you look out here, I'm just in the white margin. Off to the left, if I click on that, it takes me to some advertisement. Why?
Oh, the team that built that came up with the slogan, we put the X in UX.
This is out of control.
Yeah.
And it is an example of what not to do. If I didn't have to show this for the stream, I would have already closed this browser tab and gone on.
Right.
So anyway, this is Android Central. It's really, really easy to get to this page. But again, if you do it on mobile, you don't really get overwhelmed with this stuff. But yeah, AndroidCentral.com Fuchsia. Mm-hmm. So they talk about how it started in 2016 and a number of different other things. And there are some people putting their opinions here, and they do have they have some points if we can get to them through the ads.
It's in there somewhere. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and why is all this? Why is this a link? I don't know if you can see that. This is a link.
Where? What's that? The text?
Everything. If I try to click, if I try to highlight, okay, at least I can highlight the text, but I don't know. Everything shows as a link.
It all went downhill when they let people not underline their links. I remember those days. I remember early CSS2 days, I think it was.
Anyway, that's enough complaining about that. Let's get back to the point here. It says one of the opinion pieces is that Fuchsia is not going to replace Android or Chrome. It was my understanding from the very beginning that Fuchsia is designed to replace the Android operating system, but not Android apps.
Right.
In other words, you should be able to write your same old Android apps using Android Studio in Kotlin and generate an APK, and it should run just fine on Fuchsia. Okay. You should not know the difference. And that, as far as I understand, is the plan, because my understanding is Fuchsia is specifically designed to run everywhere, but especially on phones. And this article is saying that they don't think it's meant to run on phones. Now, there are some interesting things that no longer really apply, but for 3 years we had some very interesting discussions about why Google would not cancel Flutter. And right now I don't think they're going to cancel Flutter because it's got too much momentum at this point. It is the recommended way to write apps for Linux. It's on all the desktops. It's on both the phones. It's in the Nest Hub. I mean, it's getting to be like cockroaches. It's everywhere. You're not going to be able to get rid of Flutter now. And
things like Angular Dart, which look like they're dead as far as Google is concerned. I'm hearing lots of good up and coming stories that they're thinking about having a new BDFL, BDFL for Angular Dart and having an actual team take it over. There's a lot of that going on in some of the chats I'm seeing. So you can't kill anything that gets momentum.
Yeah,
not when it's open source. Not when it's open source.
Yeah, because and even if Google tried to walk away from it, I can tell you for a fact there are maintainers who have the ability to merge to the Flutter code base who do not work for Google.
Right.
It truly is open source. Now, it's very closely held among people who are trusted, but they're not all Google employees. If Google walked away from it tomorrow, some of those people will just have to handle more PRs. But the project will keep moving. So anyway, the Supreme Court of the United States settled a case finally once and for all that had been bouncing around for a very long time. And that is a lawsuit between Google and Oracle. It was a $9 billion lawsuit. That is with a B. Okay, insane. So this was over the use of Java and some stuff because, in short, Google had a friendly agreement that was not written with Sun Microsystems when Sun owned Java, but then when Oracle bought it and got the rights to it, they said, no, we're not going to honor that agreement. We're going to charge you money now. And Google said, go away.
Right.
So started going back and forth. And with Linus Torvalds not wanting to adjust Linux for Google's liking and the problems with that lawsuit, it was really getting to the point where for Google, a perfect world would be a different phone operating system with where that they had some control over, which would be Fuchsia, running a user interface that they had control over, at least mostly, which is Flutter, using a language that they had control over and couldn't get sued over, which is Dart. Okay, so this looks like perfect world stuff. And what I used to say was that Google's not going to get rid of any of those things because they solve a $9 billion problem. Okay, yeah. It's not good tech gets canceled at Google sometimes. It does. It's a shame. Better things than Flutter have been canceled. Okay. However, before Flutter gained enough momentum to keep going on its own, the lawyers weren't going to let Google cancel Flutter and Dart. Neither were the accountants. There's too much money at stake.
Yes.
So, but now even that case has been settled. Google has won it. There is no more appeal. So Oracle can go away. But now that Google does not have to totally rely on Flutter and Dart in order to get away from Oracle, it's already got enough momentum to keep going on its own. So the point being, if you were going to replace those things, if you were going to replace the Android OS with a Fuchsia OS, and if you were going to have Android apps that were written in Kotlin on that OS, then you're going to have to put it on phones in order to get away from Oracle. That was the plan from the beginning. So now, and one of the rules here, please don't spam your question. We saw it the first time we're talking about stuff, and we have one question, and then somebody else said one thing, and then somebody posted the same question again.
Me.
So it's like 2 times within 3, we have the same question.
Yeah, it happens.
Anyway.
I did want to
so yeah, that's why I'm saying when they are saying this about Fuchsia's not going to replace Android or Chrome OS, I disagree. I disagree that it's not going to replace the OS, but it's certainly not. If you're writing Android apps in Kotlin, you shouldn't notice the difference.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And I was just going to say, I just want to correct you for a second there. Yeah. This wasn't a lawsuit. This was a criminal case. There were criminal penalties that were being discussed. That's what the $8 million is.
Really? $8 billion, I didn't realize that there was, because I know that there was discussion over the implementation of a list.
Civil case doesn't go to the Supreme Court ever. It's because there are criminal penalties involved that put it eventually into the Supreme Court. And it's about copyright.
Join us tomorrow for the legal version of Humpday Q&A.
I know a little bit about being part of a criminal case. Just a little. It's kind of famous. Yeah.
And I'm looking at this question, and
Which one? This one? Oh.
Advanced URL navigation from you guys, like domain done. First of all, who is you guys?
The two of us? I don't know that we know much more about this.
We're doing a show here. We're chatting about Flutter.
Yeah.
If
what
you
does
want somebody to
advanced
have
mean
some
compared to
different
what?
type of navigation route for web, you might want to go ahead on over to GitHub.
Yes.
Or go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, or Discord #web.
Mm-hmm.
That channel there is really good for this stuff. There's a couple of web channel. There's a web channel on the Slack, I think, too. Right, Scott?
Let me check.
I don't remember what's there anymore. So many things we look through.
There's so many. Thought it was here somewhere. Don't tell me we need to add another channel.
Oh God, I hope not. I think there's one on the other one. That's probably what you're thinking.
Flutter web questions.
Yeah.
On the main Discord there.
Okay.
Flutter
cool.
web questions.
Yeah, you can go there. There's still a lot of interesting issues around getting the URL that's in your browser to be a deep link. There's a lot of extra stuff you have to do that an ordinary router doesn't just do. So there's definitely some things to do there. And I am not privy to all those. I haven't been paid to develop anything for web yet. So I haven't solved any of those problems before this moment. So I'd say go look and ask around.
Also, one other thing we've said many times, but it really bears repeating. And please tell all your friends, tell your enemies, tell your relatives. Don't use Flutter to make an entire website.
Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Flutter creates a web app. It creates, a JavaScript app. It's basically use Flutter to do the same things you would do with Vue.js. How do you do SEO? How do you do it with Vue.js apps? Okay, it does not change. So you're looking to do a web app in Flutter. If you try to do a whole website, there are a lot of tricks that you would have to do in order to get your SEO up, because what would happen is if you've got multiple pages on your website, it's going to take 5, 6, 7 seconds to download your entire website before it renders the first page. And then the amount of time you have to wait to render the first page is going to kill your SEO.
Right.
There are ways around that, but why?
Yeah.
Okay. Use Flutter for web apps, not for websites.
Yes.
Please.
I was arguing that at 4 a.m. my time this morning with somebody, and they were saying, why doesn't the people in Mountain View get more excited and interested in solving this SEO problem? It should be solved by now. And I said, look, that's not one of their priorities. They don't really care. They say use this for web apps, and it's working just fine. What doesn't work is to try to treat Flutter, just as you said, Scott, we'll try to treat Flutter like it was also designed to do entire websites, and it's not really meant for that. And you don't build a Flutter app even for SEO. If you're counting on your SEO to come from the fact that's like counting on SEO to come from a mobile phone. What does that even mean?
Well, the other thing too, I mean, technically, yes, you can use your text and your semantics text in order to try to tell SEO what your app is about, but it's still an app.
Yeah.
It's not a whole website. Now, one next question here.
Sure. Another one we
Dinero, bienvenidos.
Yes.
Wonderful to have you here from Colombia.
Colombia, one of the few places I haven't been.
Fuchsia, is it going to be similar to Dart or something completely different?
We don't know.
Primero cosa is Fuchsia is an operating system. Dart es un idioma. It's a language. So they're two completely different things. That's like saying Windows is going to be similar to C++.
Yeah.
Or Windows is going to be similar to Rust. Fuchsia is like Windows. Dart is like C++. So they are definitely going to be completely different. But I think maybe what you mean is Fuchsia going to, are you going to be able to write for Fuchsia with Dart? And no exacto, pero es más o menos la misma cosa. It's not exactly, but more or less it's the same thing. And that is because what you're going to be trying to do if you're writing your apps for Fuchsia, you're going to be writing Flutter apps almost assuredly, because the native apps that are in Fuchsia, the user interface is all Flutter. You will be able to have your Flutter apps run straight on the Fuchsia desktop, and you will be writing your apps in Dart. Yes. So if you want to write apps for Fuchsia, you can use Dart to write those. If you're going to try to actually go and contribute to Fuchsia itself, no, that's not written in Dart. It's written in several languages. Last time I checked, I believe it's Rust and C++, but don't quote me on that. Randall, this is where you take over while I try to research this question.
Okay. So what I also understand, in addition to what Scott said, is that yes, Fuchsia is Flutter is a first-class citizen of Fuchsia. In other words, there's going to be a lot of tooling for that. They don't quite have native development down yet, though. So you're still cross-compiling from a Linux box. But maybe someday you'll even be able to take your Fuchsia box, if that even makes sense, and build a Fuchsia app directly on the box. But I also understand there are other channels too. There's not just Flutter as the only way to create programs that can scribble all over. For example, Fuchsia is supposed to be able to run Android apps out of the box, which means it's going to have enough support facility for that. And I don't know, that means then maybe you can use a Fuchsia box, if that even exists again, I don't know, to either just run or be a test debug station, or even do full development. Maybe you're coding in Kotlin. But I think the theory is there will be multiple ways, multiple languages, multiple frameworks to get something onto Fuchsia. In the hint that we're trying to bring this all together to have, one platform to rule them all. And yet I do believe, as Scott just said, that Flutter is one of the prime ones, the ones they really are trying to get running first.
Yeah, for when it comes to actually writing apps that people will see, touch, interact with. And one other quick thing to point out, because for the longest time we were hearing, is Flutter going to replace Android, et cetera, et cetera. And now the big question is Fuchsia going to replace Android? It really shouldn't matter if you're an Android developer or if you want to develop for Android, because look at it this way, all right? If there's one thing Google knows, it's how to make money. Think about money-wise, it would be suicide to come out with an operating system for new devices that could not be backward compatible with existing apps. Google's not that stupid.
Look at how ugly Windows has become over the decades, because it had to run the older Windows code. So there a lot of work had been put in place over the years. I'd say also Mac OS went through the same thing. I don't want to be unfair, Mac
Well,
OS
but I mean,
has
but
a
one of the
ton of
things that
backward
Google has been
compatibilities.
doing is they will have a certain amount of backward compatibility, but
Yeah.
after several years, it's like you've got to let some things go, or you will turn into Windows.
Yes.
KDE, Plasma, loved it. What happened?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. You know what? I still don't understand why we can't have Plasma style widgets in Windows. There's no excuse. Anyhow,
I'm glad to
having a
say I
little
know
time
nothing
to
of
do
either
this,
of those. Yes. Good Spanish there, Scott. I was
Spanish
jealous.
is only good for talking to children.
Oh, yeah. That's about where I'm at.
So, yeah. It's not that bad. Hey, Duolingo es mi amigo.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the podcast is actually rather helpful as well.
Yep.
Hopefully one day I will be able to go down and give Flutter talks in Spanish in South America. That would be really cool because I've got friends in Argentina, in Peru, Colombia. So shout outs there to Mariano Sogria, Diego Velasquez, Judy Camacho, and all the other great folks down there in the Spanish community. Out of hell, I'm not forgetting you. You're in North America. You don't count.
There's nothing quite like seeing Richard Stallman deliver a 45-minute talk on free software, fully in Spanish. That surprised me the first time I went.
Yep.
Wait, I only know that he speaks English.
Yep. And if you only speak
American.
English, get with the times.
I'm
learning. The world's too small for that anymore, and there's
just hit
so
300
much
days.
out there you can learn.
300 days of Duolingo just yesterday.
Nice.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. We have more questions.
I am going to need to get going here in a minute because I've got way too much on my plate. This is only my third day back after vacation. And as we all know, when you get back from holiday, there are too many emails.
Right.
Way too many emails.
Yes. Unless there's a really quick question, but otherwise we need to wrap this up. I've got billable hours now. I can actually say that now. I've got billable Flutter hours.
Yeah. And that's
so happy.
If you notice that articles are not coming out on Flutter Community Medium as much as they used to. Our shows are getting shorter. Some people are not putting out as many videos as they used to.
I'm doing fewer screenshots.
There's work now.
Yeah.
There's paying work now. We were doing those things when we were not making any money. And we were having other people pay all the bills, and those other people are tired of this. So we need to go make money.
Yeah, Mr. Visa and Mr. MasterCard aren't exactly on speaking terms with me anymore. So we need to be straightened out.
Scotland.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Scotland.
Oh,
your first time here. Yeah, and you got here just at the tail end. Welcome to joining us. We're going to try to get it back to every Wednesday, like we're supposed to. So count on some show next week. At least that's our goal.
Yes. Now I'm looking here. CM from Scotland. That, although I don't think that's Carl. There's a gentleman named Carl from Scotland, but he is in Vietnam. So
yeah,
long-time Flutter guy.
Cool.
So you're not the first from Scotland, but you might be the first who's still in Scotland.
If you need a question answered before next week, again, go to flutter.dev/community, join up with the Discord. The Discord is manned 24 hours a day. Lots of smart people. I occasionally have to refer to the other people as people smarter than me with a little registered trademark after it, because it is the case. I know a lot of things about Flutter. I know a lot of things about Dart. I know a lot of things about general programming, but there are still things I don't know. Quite a few.
Oh yeah, and there's so much now.
Yeah,
when we first started 3 years ago, we were all able to keep up with the articles, and we all knew everything that was going on. Yeah. And about 2 years ago, it reached the point that we were started saying you can't keep up with it all, and now we can't keep up with what comes out in 48 hours.
Right.
Forget it.
It's insane.
There's so much content, so many different things, so many different packages. But that's why we have these other resources. That's why there are 14,000 people in the Slack. That's why we've got the huge Discord. Because if some of us can't answer it, someone else can.
And I learn things watching everybody else talk too. As part of what I have.
And one other thing, real quick, before we go, there are no dumb questions. Okay. Well, okay, that's not quite true, but there are no dumb questions about how to do Flutter.
Yeah.
The thing is, and no matter how simple it might seem, you have to remember people are coming to Flutter from a lot of different angles. We have web developers coming to Flutter because they see it as an easier way to do things like web apps and a number of other things, and they're trying to learn it. Well, you know what? People who are doing web might not understand what state management is. They might not understand OOP. They might not understand what a callback is.
Yeah.
So if they have to ask what a callback is, you back-end people, don't snicker. Okay, because as soon as you open your mouth and say what's material design or what's an aspect ratio, they could be laughing at you. So there are no dumb questions. Back-end people have to know a lot of things about how to structure an app, patterns, and how to base what they're doing off of patterns. They have to know things about async functions and about multi-threading and about isolates. Whereas people who are on the web have to know about material design and human interface guidelines and touch target areas, color blindness. They have to know about layout. They have to know about aspect ratios. And the two worlds do not really fully meet until you walk into mobile. Yeah. So, and it's not just Flutter. Okay, if you're doing Android, if you're doing iOS, or if you're doing Flutter, or if you're doing React Native, okay, and a few others too, Xamarin, Cordova, you need to have at least basic competency in all of these things.
Right.
In order to be able to do mobile. So if you're coming from one of those worlds and don't know about the other, feel free to ask. And nobody's going to get on your case. And with that, I think...
Can I add one more thing real quick?
Go right ahead.
Okay. I would also ask, as someone who's a frequent answerer, that you follow just a couple of guidelines. One is, if I can type literally what you typed as your question into Google, and the answer is in the first 3 hits, don't waste your time and then also waste mine. Because if you can find the answer that quick, you don't even have to wait to finish typing it into a chat room and for me to see it. It's already there on your screen from Google. Many, many answers I've answered are exactly that. The other thing I would ask, just as a courtesy, all right. The other thing I would ask as a courtesy, because this happens a bit too, and it might not be obvious to you, but if you take the exact same question and you post it at the very same time on both Discord and Slack, you will begin to irritate the people who are reading both Discord and Slack. And it may not seem like anything to you, but you want the people that typically answer and are reading both Discord and Slack to want to answer you. So don't work against yourself. Post it one place. Feel free to, after an hour or two, if you get nothing from that source, go on to something else or maybe ask the question differently. But don't just simultaneously post it everywhere you can. That's actually being selfish. Please don't be selfish.
I'm trying to remember, how do we... Nope. Where's the one?
I don't know. I'm getting to you, Scott.
There used to be something where you would get the link and you would send somebody the link and it would come to a page where it types out, how do I install Flutter? Type this first, link, then hit
the link that says shorten link. Hit shorten link. Oh, paste that copy thing. Paste what you just copied.
See if that's... Yes.
Yeah, that's what it's doing. Right. Yeah, this is the animation Scott was looking for.
Yes. See, this is telling you.
Yeah.
How do I install Flutter?
Yeah, you just had one click in there and it's good.
You know.
And there we go. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. There you go. We don't do that anymore. We're not that mean. At least I'm not that mean. I will tell you though, I don't want to be your Google monkey.
Yeah.
That's my new phrase.
I mean, it's
Google
if they can
monkey.
Google it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of funny. If you get a let me Google that for you link, it's kind of the equivalent of when you ask a girl for her phone number and she gives you the number to dial a prayer.
Yes. Or anything that starts with 555. Yes. In the US.
Anyway, we are way off
now
topic.
We're done. And now we're done. I just want to make sure you get those 2 points about asking questions. Definitely.
All right. Folks, I appreciate you coming out.
Tell your friends. Come back next week.
Join the Fuchsia Discord. Keep your ear to the ground.
Subscribe to this channel and you get notified on our next show.
Or do me a favor. Help pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
You can try it for free.
Today's sponsor.
Yeah. appcircle.io. Now time for me to go make a video for work.
Time for me to go bill some hours.
All right, folks.
Thanks,
we will
Scott.
catch you next
See you next
week.
time.